Located west of the Andaman Islands in India lies North Sentinel Island. Covering only 23 square miles, this island is home to the Sentinelese, an indigenous tribe who have fiercely defended the island from visitors to this day. Despite numerous attempts to establish contact with the tribe, only a handful have ended peacefully, with most encounters resulting in violent attacks and fatalities. The Sentinelese have even been reported to display the bodies of intruders on bamboo stakes as a warning to others. From local fishermen, anthropologists, and even American missionaries, the hostile stance of the Sentinelese towards anyone has made it extremely difficult to unravel the mysteries of their culture or explore the island itself, leading many people to wonder, who are the Sentinelese and why are they so aggressive towards visitors?
The island was off limits to protect outsiders and the tribe, which has no immunity to modern diseases.
The inhabitants are known for aggressive behavior against outsiders.
A member of the tribe was photographed on the beach firing arrows at a helicopter sent to check on their well-being.
Police doesn't help you.
They started attacking our helicopter with bows and arrows.
We were totally ignorant and we could have been attacked.
This was a journey American missionary John Chau was warned against taking. He describes being shot at with bow and arrow.
He wanted to share the love of God with us.
They've had unfortunate encounters with the outside world before. They have reason for hostility.
Who else might have been involved in that fatal mission?
Believed to be direct descendants of the earliest humans to migrate from Africa, the Sentinelese have likely inhabited their island in total isolation for over 60,000 years. The first recorded encounter with the Sentinelese dates back to 1867, when an Indian merchant vessel shipwrecked on the island. All 106 passengers and crew members sought refuge on the shore for 3 days until the Sentinelese emerged and began attacking with iron-tipped arrows and spears. The captain managed to escape the island by boat and returned with help from the Royal Navy. The rest of the group had managed to keep the Sentinelese at bay by throwing sticks and rocks, allowing all 106 people to escape. This encounter uncovered 2 key pieces of information about the Sentinelese. They had access to iron, possibly obtained from scavenging other shipwrecks, and visitors were extremely unwelcome. 13 years later, in 1880, the first official effort to establish contact with the Sentinelese was made by Maurice Portman, a Royal Navy officer who led a group of armed officers and trackers from the Andaman and Nicobar Islands to the shores of North Sentinel Island. Over the course of several days, Portman's group explored the island and found a number of abandoned villages and pathways. Portman eventually encountered a small group of Sentinelese consisting of 4 children and an elderly couple. Controversially, Portman kidnapped them and took them to Port Blair, the capital of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. This was a big mistake. Having had hardly any previous contact with other humans, the Sentinelese's immune system was particularly vulnerable to diseases prevalent in the outside world. As a result, the elderly couple died of illness shortly after arriving in Port Blair, while the 4 children also fell gravely ill. Portman anxiously returned the children to the island along with a plethora of gifts in an attempt to make amends. The impact of bringing these foreign diseases to North Sentinel Island via the children is still unknown, but with an estimated population of around 40, the island likely suffered significant losses from this incident. Many people argue that this encounter alone sparked the hostility displayed by the Sentinelese towards outsiders. Another display of this hostility occurred in 1896, when a convict fleeing from the Great Andaman Island penal colony washed ashore on North Sentinel Island. A search party quickly discovered his lifeless body a few days later, pierced by arrows and with his throat cut, sending a chillingly clear message to the world: do not come to the North Sentinel Island. This message was heeded for the next 70 years, with very few daring to approach the island. That was until 1967, when anthropologist T.N. Pandit embarked on a journey to conduct the first professional survey of the island on behalf of the Indian government. Accompanied by armed personnel, Pandit witnessed the Sentinelese running into the jungle upon approach. Pandit followed the tracks and found lean-to shelters, as well as a collection of tools and weapons, including bows and arrows, pots, and fishing buckets, but failed to make any contact with the islanders. Pandit's team left a variety of gifts for the islanders, such as pots, pans, coconuts, and iron tools before leaving the island. A few years later, in 1974, a film crew for National Geographic brought Pandit and a team of anthropologists to film a documentary about North Sentinel Island. The film, Man in Search of Man, provided the first ever recorded footage of the Sentinelese.
What are those moving shapes? Are they human? At last, the first glimpse of the Sentinelese.
The crew had planned to offer a range of gifts to the islanders, including plastic toys, coconuts, and a live pig. However, upon the crew's approach, the Sentinelese immediately began shooting arrows at their boat, one of which hit the director in the thigh.
A member of our film unit was wounded by one of the many arrows, each 2.5 meters long.
The pig was promptly speared to death and buried in the sand by one of the islanders. Hoping to build some form of trust with the Sentinelese, Pandit continued to make regular visits to the island over the course of 25 years, but never succeeded in making direct contact. Instead, they observed from a distance as the islanders accepted the gifts, all while keeping their bows and arrows trained on Pandit and his team. In 1981, however, the first friendly encounter with the Sentinelese was achieved when a cargo ship named the Primrose became beached on the northwest side of the island, the wreckage of which can still be seen to this day when zooming into North Sentinel Island on Google Maps. The captain observed the typical aggressive response from the Sentinelese and radioed headquarters stating, "Wild men, estimated more than 50, carrying various homemade weapons, are making 2 or 3 wooden boats. Worrying they will board us at sunset. All crew members' lives not guaranteed." The captain and his crew were safely evacuated by helicopter a few days later, after a team of scrap dealers were sent to salvage materials from the Primrose wreckage. An unexpected report came back. The scrap dealer reported exchanging bananas and metal with the Sentinelese, and that the tribe visited us regularly at least twice or thrice in a month, while we worked at the site for about 18 months. This proved that friendly interactions with the Sentinelese were possible, which was further established in 1991 when Pandit and a team of anthropologists once again returned to the island bearing gifts. Instead of the usual tense standoff between the Sentinelese and Pandit's team, a woman from the tribe approached the dinghy, and Pandit's team was able to hand the gifts over directly for the first time. As these close visits continued, it became clear that the tribe had come to trust Pandit's team to some extent, although whenever Pandit's team ventured too close to the shore, the tribe would threaten them with knives, making it apparent that visitors were still unwelcome on the island itself.
One boy of North Sentinel who was standing at a distance from me, making a round movement of the knife as if he was going to cut me out.
These visits continued until 1994, when the Indian government suspended visits to the island. In 2004, a severe earthquake and subsequent tsunami struck off the coast of Indonesia, ranking as the 3rd most powerful earthquake ever recorded. As a result, a helicopter was dispatched to North Sentinel Island to check on the welfare of the islanders. Incredibly, the Sentinelese had not only survived the disaster, but seemed to be completely unaffected, even going so far as to shoot arrows at the helicopter. The tribe's aggression continued in 2006, when 2 Indian fishermen ventured near North Sentinel Island to illegally fish for crabs. Their anchor failed during the night, and the pair drifted towards the island shore. Both fishermen were later found dead, with their bodies reportedly impaled onto bamboo stakes and placed on display as warning signs. These events all culminated in one of the most recent and perhaps most notorious visitors to North Sentinel Island, 26-year-old John Chau, an American missionary who hoped to bring Jesus to the Sentinelese. John had hired local fishermen to illegally transport him close to the island, where he could offer gifts and attempt to befriend the tribe. Despite being somewhat aware of the extreme risks associated with his mission, John displayed a mix of determination and perhaps overconfidence in how the islanders would react to his presence. As written in a journal he kept throughout his trip, saw movement on the shore. 2 armed Sentinelese came rushing out, yelling at me. They had 2 arrows each, unstrung, until they got closer. I hollered, "My name is John. I love you and Jesus loves you. Jesus Christ gave me authority to come to you. Here is some fish. I regret I began to panic slightly as I saw them string arrows in their bows. I felt some fear, but mainly was disappointed they didn't accept me right away. I can now say I've been nearly shot by the Sentinelese, and I've walked on and cached gear on their island. John returned to the island the following day to find a group of Sentinelese on the shore. In an attempt to connect with them, John mimicked their shouts, which only made the Sentinelese laugh. John also sang worship hymns to them before rowing closer and throwing them gifts. John disembarked his paddleboat and managed to approach an unarmed Sentinelese man close enough to hand him gifts. However, this moment of peace was brief, as a child shot an arrow at John. Miraculously, the arrow struck the Bible John was holding in front of his chest, saving his life. John swam almost a mile back to the boat. At this point, John had survived an incredible encounter with the Sentinelese in what many might even perceive as divine intervention. Evidently, John did not see it this way. Lord, let your will be done. If you want me to get actually shot or even killed with an arrow, then so be it. I think I could be more useful alive, though. But to you, God, I give all the glory for whatever happens. I don't want to die. Would it be wiser to leave and let someone else continue? No, I don't think so. If I leave, I believe I'll have failed the mission. As a result, John made the fateful decision to venture to the island on foot for the final time. The following day, the fishermen witnessed tribe members dragging John's lifeless body across the shore. In his final journal entry, John wrote, "I love you all, and I pray that none of you love anything in this world more than Jesus Christ." Given North Sentinel Island's violent history, the question of whether the Sentinelese should be prosecuted for murder continues to spark debate, with many pointing out that the blame rests on the intruders, not the tribe. Among the deaths, exhibitions, encounters, and mysteries surrounding the Sentinelese, one thing remains abundantly clear. Do not go to North Sentinel Island.